Welcome back to the REI Hot Seat. I've got Jacob Campanaro with me as usual. Jake, thanks for being here. We're going to go through today talking about an on-market deal, a front-back duplex that I have a fair bit of knowledge on. We're going to go through what it is, how it works, and a unique little rule that not a lot of people know about with rent control in Ontario. Not legal advice, but just our take on what's going on and a potential opportunity for people.
Right on, let's dive into it.
Okay, so I'm just going to run through some pictures of this. It's a decent neighborhood in London, can attract decent tenants there. Front back, so the original building was like a 1960s something, fully redone in 2018, and then there's a back unit as well. So I'm just scrolling through some pictures here.
And when you say back unit, Andrew, do you mean attached
a full attached back unit? So there's like a little 5-foot breezeway that attaches it. It's a vaulted ceiling unit, as you can see from these photos here, and I'll just turn it so you can see it too.
Yep.
So well done. So there's some pictures of the front unit here too. Both are similar finish, brand new kitchens, wiring, plumbing, HVAC equipment, totally independent and independently metered. The house does have a common water meter, but there's sub-metering, which is allocated so the tenants actually pay full utilities.
Right. And who do you use for sub-metering?
So there's something called sub-metering solutions. There's a guy actually, Dan, who's been on this show before, who I'm trying to think of the episode number, but I will reference that in the description below so that people have that information.
Very cool. And he'll do large and small?
Yeah, you can sub-meter entire buildings and do build back. So sub-metering solutions will actually build back your tenants for you if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well,
that costs
what I'm
more.
Familiar with, right? I know a few companies that do that, and there's a small fee to the owner and to the to set it up and all of that. But great program.
Yeah, and that's kind of like from a management standpoint, you're going to want something like that if you're managing larger buildings. You're not, especially if you're going to have to build back, because it, like coming from my own experience, it's a pain.
Well, you don't want to even 10 units. Right now there's 10 water bills you got to start billing back. I would just go direct.
The administrative headache is not fun. Of course, if you have like an assistant or somebody, as long as you have somebody who's in your systems that will do it, then you're laughing. That's the building as a structure. Everything's above grade, so obviously highly desirable. Separate backyards. And this one's presently listed for $750. So let's dig into what those numbers look like. I've got the information here on what the current rents are. So just shy of $1960 in the front unit, and there's $1715 in the back unit.
And both those units are currently occupied?
Both are currently occupied. The front tenant is leaving. So unit A is leaving.
Okay.
Interesting note, and this is what we were going to talk about though, is in Ontario in 2018, there was legislation passed that said new units would not be rent controlled if they were after a certain date. I don't have the exact date, but I know it was in the end of 2018.
I believe it's October. Yeah. October 2018.
Yeah. So this one the permit was closed in 2019. So the unit was technically added to the rental inventory in 2019. Okay. So no rent control on that back unit.
And with the front unit becoming vacant.
So now we can bring this building fully up to market rent. So this would be a potential play to buy and have a full up to market rent. I was just perusing on rentals.ca for their market update trend. Like they have that chart that says all the different cities in Ontario, and London year over year is up 38%, their rental rates.
Yeah.
38%. So the positive side for landlords who are watching their property values come down and seeing the interest rates go up is that the rental income is starting to offset some of that pain.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah. It's really making the situation helping. And I attribute that to like would-be buyers are turning into renters, right?
100%. Yeah. And there's more immigration. Like I just saw another article today. Like,
they're going to do $500,000 a year now.
500,000, and then again, we're still having builders not going through with projects or not even starting projects that would add housing to the market. So
the short supply is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's still going to be an issue of affordability though for a lot of these people.
Drive up rental demand.
Yeah. Rental demands are going to be there. People still need a place to live.
The affordability is definitely the short term.
Which is going to push the values down.
Why is it right now what's happening? Why are we having rental increases? Definitely the affordability is driving prices up. But I think it's just going to continuously get worse. I think rental rates will
keep climbing.
Over the next
so too.
3-4 years, 5 years.
There's volatility in certain markets. Like if you look at Alberta, like they'll actually have like $400 swings. Like they'll go up to $1,800 on a one bed and then down to $1,400.
Yep.
We never really had that here because we weren't like dependent on one industry like they are. Yeah. Well, they are not. I don't mean to offend anybody, but yeah, oil's a big driver.
And that's a huge benefit to investing in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
Why are we paying these premiums in Ontario? Well, that's exactly why. Right?
Yeah.
We're a very stable market.
Yeah, there's so many different industries.
You can go to a small town somewhere in Ontario and still do very well with driving rental rates up, driving appreciation.
I do think, not to get tangent, that some of the reason that rent rates don't change in Ontario or never go down is because of rent control. Like rent control stops rents from ever going down. Whereas in Alberta, you can kick a tenant out, you can raise their rents, whatever. And it's just a fair and free market. So if there's less demand for rentals, rental rates come down. I think that's better. Double-edged sword for sure. Okay, so current rents are about $36.74 on this. Market rents would be about $47.90, so $22.95 on the back, $24.95 on the front.
Wow, okay, so quite a bit of lift there.
A lot of potential lift, so over $1,000 more rent potential.
Let's run an exercise then. If we were to buy it at the asking price.
Yeah.
Right. With the expenses we have there, which I believe are up on the screen.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run through the expenses real quick. So I've got the rent subbed in at market. So looking through the expenses here, we've got taxes at around $5,000, insurance $2,900 for the year, and that's like full coverage, full replacement value, and also insurance against lost rents or anything like that. You don't have to take the full insurance package like that, but that's the more elaborate one. Maintenance 5% is what I like to use. 1% for management. This one's, in my opinion, an easy self-manage, because if you put good tenants in there, like the tenants that are currently there, they stay long-term, no issues. These tenants cut the grass themselves. So separate backyards, they each cut their own backyard. One is responsible for the front as well. They also both handle snow removal on their respective areas, their respective driveways. So
yeah. That's the key when tenants are open to doing the snow and the grass. Is extremely helpful.
And you can negotiate these things in leases. Like if you do it right, you have the conversations, you're very clear, you put it in the advertisements. Like when you show the property, say, hey, this is the lawn you would do. Yep. I know for a fact here, the landlord did not even provide anything for lawn cutting or anything. They've just done it all themselves. And then I like to throw in that miscellaneous for whatever might come up. Common utilities, there's nothing here. Everything's separately metered, including 2 separate gas meters, except for the water with the sub-metering solution. Okay, so asking price at $750. Mm-hmm. That's about a 6 cap based on market rent.
And that's what I wanted to apply it to, right? What is the market rent? How can we, what does the deal look like there?
Yeah, so this one, depending on if that rear tenant leaves, the first opportunity would be to get it up to market rent would be in September of 2023, since that's 1 year from the last rent increase. So the landlord didn't increase it to the full market rent on the last one, but there is the potential to do that on the next one. Okay, so here's where you got to kind of look at the numbers. So at 80% mortgage, that's a $600,000 mortgage, 30-year AM, say 6% is the rate you get if you went with, an conventional lender. Monthly payments are like $3,500. The cash flow is around $230 if you're going full 80. Not the best cash flow you ever wanted to have, of course. One thing that you could look at here to make it a little bit better is don't take the full 80%, go 75, put a little bit more down. Makes a big difference when we're talking 6%. Huge, right? Just that extra 40 grand down now doubles the cash flow almost. So now it's $450.
And we can also play around with the financing a little bit, Andrew. Depending again on what you think, how the market's trending, what your gut's telling you. You can go in for a 2-year fixed mortgage, right?
Could.
So come in at a 2-year fixed mortgage, a 1-year fixed mortgage. I would recommend the 2, but go in for a 2-year fixed mortgage. In that first year, you're going to get that back tenant out. And you're going to re-rent that first unit. So now you're making that $200 cash flow, right, that we said. But in 2 years, that mortgage comes up. Well, all of a sudden, the rates are down. Mm-hmm. Now you've picked up a property that would have sold a year ago for what, 1.1, 1.2?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. This property legit would have gone for over 1.1 million in January. Right. Now it's 750.
If we can trend that the rates are going to start coming down eventually, even if you did a 3-year hold, you're coming in and buying a 1.1 property for 750.
Yeah.
And you're going to be laughing in 2 years.
I mean, that's the potential, right? Like no one has a crystal ball. No one knows anything for sure, right? Like I think when you buy anything, you got to be willing to hold it longer term. It's not necessarily your plan A, but your plan B needs to be, a workable, I can hold this long term. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind managing. And one of the things I like about this asset is this is a very manageable building. Mm-hmm. You have separate entrances. No one's below grade. You're not going to have somebody stomping on the floor and the lower tenants complaining and leaving. I've had a duplex like that where every year the lower unit turned over because they're like, oh, the people upstairs are too noisy.
Yeah.
Like you get rid of that. You have separate backyards. That's so rare. I feel like anybody who gets into a building like that, they don't want to leave.
Yeah. You're definitely going to have a better quality tenant.
Yeah.
The separate backyard's huge.
You can have a pet. You can, you can stay out of each other's way. Like that's big. So it's more like a townhouse living versus living in an apartment.
When the back unit was done, was the roof done on the front unit or what's the CapEx look like on this?
So the roof was done where it was connected. So there was still lots of life in that roof. So that was left alone. The back roof is obviously new. Everything on the back unit is new.
Yeah.
The interior of the existing house, the only thing that was like mechanically left was probably about 30-40% of the wiring was still usable from before, was left alone, and then the rest was all new. But there's the 2 meters on the side of the building. There's a shut off for unit B right next to the panel for A. So you just go in. So it's all done, under permit, fully, to code.
This is a great case study for just a solid duplex.
Yeah, for something that would be, again, if my criteria when I buy something is I got to be willing to hold that long term. This would be the type of property I'd be looking for. Or I would create, I'd build it to be like this.
Yeah. And we're looking for properties like that all the time, right? Just to, let's put some cash there. Let's hold it. We're going to wait for the market to recover. And in my scenario where I'm saying, hey, in that 2-year time period, the interest rates are going to go down. But forget about interest rates for a moment. Let's just talk appreciation, right? So if the interest rates start going down, if buyer confidence comes back to the market, if things stabilize, and even if that comes back up to, let's say, $900,000, 800, a million, that's massive equity in there as well, which we didn't even mention.
I think if you assume that appreciation is going to go back to what long-term inflation was, which is around 2%, I always felt that was bankable in the long run, 2%, because 2% increases in building supplies and the cost of labor and all that over time, like naturally you're going to see that rise in property values. This whole 9, 10, 20% thing, that was never sustainable. But I mean, I do think that there's going to come a point where we get back to that. I just don't know when that will be. Again, like no one has that crystal ball. So the key thing when you're buying assets, or we talk a lot about buyer profile. What do you think the buyer profile is for a building like this? Who's your typical buyer that would buy something like this?
Yeah. So very easy. It's someone who's going to have some affordability personally, right? So maybe you own a home and you can afford to buy residential, right? Yes, we can set up corps and do different structures and things to help people buy more. But I'd say, what's your perfect buyer profile? Someone who's got a bit of affordability under their personal name. Right.
Oh, so you're saying they can qualify with the banks?
Yeah, qualify with the banks.
You could go with credit unions too, though.
You could.
And then you don't need to personally qualify.
You could. That's more relationship based, right?
Yeah, and you're going to pay more on the rates. You're going to get a 25-year AM. It's going to make the cash flow tougher. You have to come in with more money. And
with the limited cash flow that we're having out of this already,
you want to go A bank.
You're going to want to go A bank. You want to get the best rate. So you're going to have that affordability, right? I would say at least that down payment for 25%.
Somebody who's got that available. I wouldn't think like with anything. It depends on what your goals are with growing. Like my take on it would be like if you're somebody who wants to like aggressively grow your portfolio, that's probably not the one you're going to do because there's not that much of an instant value add. Whereas for somebody who's a professional, they don't have much time and they just want something that, they can hold long term and, hire a manager if they want.
And this is hands off.
That works. Yeah, the
easy
hands off.
This is the one for the doctor. This is the one for the lawyer that their job takes up a lot of hours, right? And it's, hey, I just want to start parking some money somewhere. And while the market's down and while these prices are coming down, I'm going to take advantage of this and go buy, right? Rather than stay in stocks or this or that. Let's just go buy hard real estate and go from there.
Yeah, the big thing, I've sold many buildings to like doctors, lawyers, and the big thing like a lot of them want is to know that management's an opportunity because not a lot of them, even though like we've talked like audiences of my podcast and this show probably know some of the tricks to self-managing and making things like work. So I think a little bit of skill is necessary to just know how are you going to screen tenants, make sure you get good ones. Otherwise, you probably should work with a manager and you just got to build that into your numbers. Maybe that means putting a little bit more down so that the cash flow is still positive and works for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so just wanted for interest's sake, since we were on the topic, I pulled up rentals.ca national rent report because whenever these come out, I find them so interesting. Yeah. So it's got the hot map, the heat map. The darker ones are the most expensive rental markets. So we've got, Vancouver, Toronto being the most expensive markets, like a 2-bed in Vancouver's $3,700 on average. We've got a 1-bed at $2,500. London's still a very affordable market. We're down there number 16 on the most expensive cities, even though 38.8% increase year over year on the 1-beds and 38% increase on the 2-beds. With an average 1-bed rent of $1,810 and a $2,184 on the 2-bed rent. And the building we were just talking about was a 2-bed rear unit with 2 baths, and the front unit was 3-bed with 2 bath and then an entire rec room in the basement, which technically, I know that the existing tenants were using it as a bedroom as well. If those numbers compute, I'd say that the numbers that I got from the realtor who I got opinion on this are likely to be accurate. So maybe even more. Yeah. You never know. Like with values on rents changing that quickly year over year, who knows in 2 months' time where rental values are.
Exactly, right? What's the demand in the market at the time when you're going to lease?
Okay, so Jake, are you able to help people find buildings like this or this one specifically?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, right? This is a great purchase. There's lots of inventory that's similar to this on the market right now. So maybe not so brand new, but good duplex inventory that we're helping clients with daily right now. and looking at purchasing these while we have a great market to be doing it. So yes,
Yeah.
I'm happy to help with this. Happy to help with any questions regarding rental guidelines, the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, the rental increases.
Right?
A lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people don't. Yeah.
So yeah, you know what? You can reach out. There's a link below on the video.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description of the video.
And anyone who has questions, click that link. It just helps us keep organized, right?
Yeah, and you can enter your information.
Yeah, and that way we know when people come in, and we make sure that we give you guys a call within 24 hours of signing up.
With that said, thank you so much for watching the video. If you made it this far, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, show us some love in the comments section, and tell somebody about the show. Really appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.